All right, y'all. Y'all saw the thumbnail. Talk to me. What are y'all thinking? Y'all agree? Y'all disagree? Roy Jones Jr. said in his prime, he would have beaten Oleksandr Usyk. He'd have found out how he would have beat him, and he pretty much already know how he would have beat him. But he's not going to get into it. He's going to let everybody else decide what they think. In his prime, he wasn't losing to nobody. He didn't care who it was. Okay? I told y'all a long time ago, Roy Jones want to be called the greatest of all time. He don't like when they say somebody else is greater than him. And even when he sit here and talk about how he put Ali as number one, right? That's him taking himself out the picture. 2, who gives a fuck? Fuck, like there's some unwritten rule. We have to agree with what the fuck another fighter agrees with. No. He you know, just like how he sat there and glazed the fuck out of Sugar Ray Leonard to explain how Sugar Ray Leonard was better than Floyd, but then he also wanted to let us know how he knew that Ray couldn't handle a jab, and he just kept the jab in his face, and you know, like, so in other words, I just kept him at bay with a jab. I beat him with a jab, you know. Now I remember Sugar Ray Leonard. I read a passage where he said he confirmed that he sparred Roy Jones. He said it was something like he showed up at the gym and he had like a suit on, and he didn't have his sneakers and all or whatever, but he just took off his shirt, put the gloves on, and then I remember him saying like, and they started sparring. He's like, and I immediately took those gloves off. Like, so in other words, he wasn't ready. He got in there not prepared. But bottom line, okay, so yeah, Roy, let's say Roy put a little something on him, right? Cool. And the thing what people understand, nobody's denying that Roy was a solid fighter. You dumb niggas seem to not understand. I, for years, was defending the position of Roy Jones, of where he was, and hey, he's fighting who's here. Now, we know great fighters have great opponents. And when you look at this man's resume, Roy Jones has beaten 10 world champions. Now, they weren't all world champions when he beat them, but at some point they were a champion, or you know, however, bottom line, he's beaten 10. Nobody's trying to take nothing away from him. The point, bottom line is, you know, when you look at a guy like Canelo, for example, Canelo have more green check marks than all these other fighters. But Canelo and Lomachenko were the only ones giving a fucking, and Lomachenko never really exercised that shit, but Canelo was the only fucking fighter that was given this franchise bullshit. So he's given immunity to duck his mandatories and go up and down the way. Other fighters didn't have that. That's fair. So if you was to sit here and look at check marks, Roy Jones, Floyd Mayweather, Terrence Crawford, so many other fighters, Manny Pacquiao, would have way less check marks than Canelo. But what pissed people off is you can give Canelo all the green check marks you want. Floyd beat that ass. He got more green check marks than Bivol. Bivol beat that ass. Plain and simple. So it doesn't make a difference. Y'all can talk all that bullshit, but the whole thing with that is Roy Jones' career. The fighters that he didn't fight, and I said it before, even a guy like Chris Eubanks Sr., he probably didn't even want to fight Roy Jones. I'm telling you, I said I think Roy could beat those dudes. We don't know that for sure, but I think that Roy would have beat them. But they did not fight. How the fuck do you just assume, and that's something y'all all do wrong, like I said, more recently with Tyson Fury and Usyk. Everybody swore Fury was going to win. Okay, now we just going to assume who could beat who, and that determines greatness? Nah, that's bullshit. That's a lot of what y'all do, though. This man said he would have found out a way to beat Usyk. Okay. I completely disagree. And I think Usyk would have knocked Roy Jones out cold. Let me explain something to y'all. Roy Jones said at the end of a fight with Tarver, he would have always had problems with Tarver because he's a southpaw and he's tall. Tarver's 6'2". Usyk is 6'3". Tarver's flat-footed. Not that fast, but not slow. Usyk is fast and he can move. Usyk packs way more power than Tarver. What version of Antonio Tarver is better than any version of Usyk? Right now, look at how durable Usyk is. At this age, Roy Jones was cooked. So what does Roy say? In my prime. Here we go again. Fantasy fights. Y'all still don't understand why this bothers people like Roy Jones and the Shane Mosley and anybody else, because they have to resort to in my prime because they know they can't match the whole career. Which, bottom line, is their problem, because your career is what it is. It's as simple as that. So, for that matter, like when they tried to take that loss off Lomachenko's record, imagine if they would have said, nah, he wasn't in his prime that night. So it don't count. Who would have been Loma Christ, his fans would have been perfectly okay with it, because they don't give a fuck. People don't have morals. They accept whatever that favors the fighter that they like. But at the end of the day, okay, this is what he says. Now, first of all, if you watch the fight with, and this is why I'm telling y'all can sit there and suck Roy nuts all y'all want. Roy Jones talking about him losing 25 pounds of muscle is what ended his career. Roy Jones is full of shit. I'm gonna explain something to you guys. Roy Jones, and I've told you this before, but let me explain this shit to you. Roy Jones coming directly from that Ruiz fight to fight against Antonio Tarver in the first fight. I can see Roy Jones was tired by the third round. He was huffing and puffing. He was barely, he wasn't fighting as much as he needed to, but he fought enough to stay in the fight and win the majority of those rounds. And because you saw him getting hit a lot more than you used to, a lot of people was like, oh shit, but in the middle of the ring, Tarver wasn't really doing shit. He was taking it to Roy on the ropes, and Roy was going to those ropes to rest because he was tired. So I felt like the weight loss probably really bothered Roy Jones. I believe him when he says that. But the Glenn Johnson fight, no, he just got knocked the fuck out. The third fight with Tarver, no, he just got beat. He got caught with a check left hand, I think the last round. Tarver almost knocked his ass out. But I'm gonna tell you something. In that third fight, see, this is what I mean about how people will say something today and then turn around and say something completely different. And y'all don't catch this shit. But if you remember, okay, and if you don't, go back and watch it. Go back and watch it. Roy Jones got criticized by Emmanuel Stewart, by Larry Merchant, and Jim Lampley about not letting his hands go. He wasn't fighting the right type of fight. You can see his energy was there. Roy Jones had no problem. His energy was up. He had nothing to do. He wasn't tired like he was in that first fight. So Roy Jones was back. His conditioning was back. Roy is full of shit. That's the excuse he want to use to y'all. That, I lost 25 pounds of muscle. And that was the, right. So your skills diminished because of that. Now I'm going to tell y'all what happened. They said in that fight, Larry Merchant said, that's why Roy Jones was so cautious. He said that's why he was so cautious in his career, because he can't take a punch. Emmanuel Stewart was like, he keeps throwing the same thing over and over. He throws that lead left hook and then follow with the right to the body. And that's what he kept doing. Because every time he tried to swing over Tarver's jab, Tarver's a southpaw. So every time he would try to sweep over the right, he couldn't land that punch. The problem with Roy too was Roy doesn't have solid basic boxing fundamentals. He doesn't work off his jab. He only uses his jab to get separation. He don't throw his jab to land a shot. He loved to lead with that left hook, and it wasn't working with Tarver. Tarver was able to lead, catch his shots. Roy was lighting the ass too, man. You could he was able to muscle Roy around, and then Roy was doing the same thing, sweep with that left hook and then come with the uppercut in the middle, or come to the right, to the body with the right hand. He just kept throwing the same shit over and over. He wasn't doing enough to try to win. He never took over that fight. Rounds 5 and 6, I remember him picking it up. He fought in spurts, but he never really tried to take the fight over, man. So all the sticking his tongue out, shaking his head, and doing that little shit. But where was that dog Like he say, Sugar was a dog. Sugar was a dog. Where was that dog in him to like, nah, I'm going to win this fight? You understand what I'm saying? Tarver could take his punch better than he could take his. And so when I hear them say, that's why he was so cautious in his career, because, he, can't really take a punch. We're not going we're not going to sit here and play this 25 pounds of muscle like it did something to him physically. No, it took that out of him in his first fight. And that's why he was so tired. That motherfucker wasn't tired in that third fight. That motherfucker, his stamina, everything was back. The problem was he don't work off his jab. You understand what I'm saying? He don't know how to slip and counter and fight to the point where he throwing shots in the middle and working. And no, those fundamentals are not there. Everything with Roy is coming. Only thing he comes up the middle is his right hook. I mean, his right uppercut. You know what I'm saying? And he does this shit and he leans and he was able to get hit. Tarver was popping him with his jab all day. He couldn't get away from that fucking jab. You know what I'm saying? And when I'm watching him, and mind you, this is a flat-footed guy who has decent speed. Usyk is fast and has Usyk knocking out heavyweights. Wait, Roy Jones is the same dude that said he only wanted to fight Tyson and that's it. That was his dream fight. And after he fought Tyson, he said he's going to retire. Later on, he says he fought Tyson, then he wanted to come back down and fight, to break this guy, Fitch, I forget his name, but break his record or tie his record or whatever. Do what he did, tie his record, but winning the heavyweight champion, then light heavyweight championship. Okay, whatever. So he said, Fitzsimmons, or whatever. He said he was gonna, so whatever. Bottom line is, for him to sit here and say, I'm not really a heavyweight, so, you know what I'm saying? That's why, I only fought the one time. Okay. When you say in your prime, motherfucker, what you consider your prime, what your fans are talking about is your middleweight days. Usyk's a fucking cruiserweight, then a heavyweight. So you just going to assume you would have just put the weight on that you needed, went up, and found a way to beat Usyk. Okay, so hold up. Right. You have no jab that you use. Roy knows how to throw the jab, but he doesn't work off of the fucking jab. And the thing about it, man, is like, Roy's like 5'11", right? 5'10", 5. So when Roy Jones throws his shots, he's quick with his shots, but at the same time, Roy throws his shots, he's flashy, head always. So make him miss, make him pay type shit. You think Usyk is going to be there for them little pit-pat shots that you throwing? You think that you're going to hurt Usyk? Usyk can take shots from big dudes, but you think you're gonna hurt Usyk? You think you're gonna work his body or something? You think that Usyk would fuck Roy up. And here's the deal. Roy Jones, if you couldn't beat Tarver because he was tall and a southpaw, and he's not as fast or as strong as Usyk or nearly as clever, and can't move. Even right now at Usyk's age, his legs is dead. So for Usyk to do what he's doing, what the fuck would we believe that you could just do that all of a sudden you gonna get in there and beat Usyk? I told you, this man's ego is huge. He wants to be considered the greatest of all time. It's so funny how this motherfucker is making all this noise about a little guy, but at the same fucking time, he want to tell you how in his prime, nobody could beat him. Right? The baddest man in the history of boxing that nobody could ever beat was a fucking middleweight that went up to light heavyweight and fought a bum at heavyweight. So that version of you that beat John Ruiz is going to beat Usyk? That's what we supposed to believe? It didn't matter if you fought Usyk at cruiserweight or heavyweight. You would have got your ass kicked. You too fucking small, man. And you don't have the reach that you need. You don't use a jab. And if you learn how to stab to the body with the jab and move with it, and work up the middle and shoot your shit and you do everything like Roy throw power shots and he throws it, off the fucking left hook. And we know what I'm saying. When you watch it, it's like, just like Emmanuel Stewart all was saying, they kept criticizing he's doing the same thing over and over. He's not trying to win this fight. How does he think he's impressing the judges? They're ripping Roy Jones through the whole fight. So y'all can sit here and get excited because he's shaking his head, sticking his tongue out, shaking his head, nah, and all this shit. But Roy Jones never tried to win that fight. And then Roy Jones, on my dead mama, Roy Jones' excuse was the reason that he didn't push harder, right? He's telling us he lost on purpose because he didn't want his father to take the credit. Him and his father didn't have the best relationship. They had fallen out. He came back. He worked with his dad, to go back to his roots and all that. But he didn't want his father to get the credit. I lost to Tarver the second time and Glenn Johnson and stuff. And so for me to get back on track, it's like, you got back on track because of me. He didn't want to give his daddy that credit. That's what Roy Jones said. And y'all respect that bullshit. Y'all believe that. Man, we don't owe these motherfuckers nothing. Y'all better get your heads out your asses with that respect bullshit. I respect people as human beings, but I'm not going to sit back here and go with no fucking lies. And I tell people, you motherfuckers act like y'all telling me some shit about Roy I don't know. Motherfucker, Roy was my guy back in the day. I ain't want to see Roy lose to nobody. But at the same time, man, when you talking bullshit, I'm not going to sit back and act like I'm cool with that shit. Like, oh yeah, he's full of shit, man. Now, him saying he could beat Usyk, cool. That's his business. If some of y'all think he would have beat Usyk, cool. But here's my thing. Who in the fuck has this dude beat that makes us think he could beat Usyk? This motherfucker tell you James Toney's the best fighter he fought. Roy Jones fans be like, man, James Toney ain't shit. They see how mad they got when James Toney said if he would have trained for Roy, we would never heard of Roy again. Yeah, y'all ripped James Toney, right? But Roy tell you it's the best fighter he fought. And what he said about James Toney? See, James Toney, hey, turn. You know what I'm saying? Well, you ain't gonna do that, but you know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna be able to get that more than once because my hand's too fast, right? Okay. Usyk can move. Usyk is walking down Fury. He's standing there going toe-to-toe with AJ. You see what I'm saying? He's standing there banging with Dubois. Now, what is little fucking Roy Jones going to do that Usyk is going to worry about? You look at the Tony Bellew-Usyk fight, right? Tony Bellew was using that jab. He was keeping it long. And Tony Bellew can box. Like, he can box. And he was keeping it in the middle. He know what he... And Usyk is watching him. Usyk is watching him get tired. Okay, let me keep moving. Let me make him work fast. Let me push him. I'll wear him out, and I'm going to get him out of it. He took him to deep waters. That's strategy. What is Roy going to do? He don't have a better gas tank than Usyk. Usyk has a better all-around ring IQ. Roy Jones was athletic. He was quick. He had some pop on his punch. But at 160 is when he was really knocking people out. 175, not so much. And pretty much even at heavyweight, he fought bum-ass Ruiz. But if you look at it, man, he was hitting Ruiz with, like, when he would hit him flush, it's like, okay, I got him. But, like, he never wobbled him, had him up on the verge of falling. I mean, you can hit a motherfucker and they kind of, okay, but I'm good. You understand what I'm saying? Like, none of that. He don't have heavyweight power, man. He had enough power to keep Ruiz at bay with his movement and feints and stuff. And like I said, Ruiz is garbage. I give Roy Jones credit for the accomplishment, but who he beat in Ruiz is garbage. Pure trash. Now, if Roy Jones is sitting here telling us he would have beat Usyk, he would have beat anybody in his prime. Anybody means anybody. That's Ali. That's Larry Holmes. That's George Foreman. Yeah, that's everybody. That's Mike Tyson. That's everybody in their prime. So I forget the dude name, and one of the families mentioned it as well. The dude that dropped Roy Jones, I believe he was at 160 at that. I think he's fighting at 160 or 160 at that time. Maybe 160, but whatever. I remember him getting dropped with a temple shot. But, he won the fight. But bottom line is, what I'm saying to you, when you look at this dude's resume, the best two fighters, okay, the only two people that's in the Hall of Fame as all-time greats on his resume is James Toney. James Toney lost twice to fucking Montel Griffin, man. And I said the same thing on the family said. The best fight that I saw with James Toney, where it was a back and forth, was against Vasily Jirov. But James Toney was lazy. He didn't like to fucking train. Teddy Atlas and everybody used to get on this motherfucking case. Like, man, why don't you get in the gym and get serious? You understand what I'm saying? So walk around, motherfucker formed the pot belly. That's his business, man. He went up to heavyweight, man, and bottom line is, You know, yeah, Tony could box, man, but stop it. Tony had losses. And that fight with him and Vasily Jirov was like that close. Stop it. Let's stop talking like James Toney was some master. Let James Toney tell it. Only 2 boxers that was born to box was him and Ray Robinson. Basically, James Toney will tell you he's the greatest of all time. He's better than everybody. But he gives Ray Robinson the props in this situation, right? But when you ask, he could beat anybody. Okay. So, because Roy Jones tell you that he would beat anybody in his prime, it's so because he said it. Ray Leonard tells you the same thing. In his prime, in his mind, he felt like he could beat anybody. So what? But then you lose to motherfuckers. Okay, wait, when did he start losing? All right, let's cut those years off and stick strictly to their prime years. And then boast about how he would have beat anybody. That's your fucking words. Now, Usyk versus Roy Jones is a fight we'll never see and we'll never know. But I strongly believe. Listen, let me tell y'all something, man. It's easy to use your imagination and talk about what you could have did and you would have this. Like he said, there's no fighter you need to bring up as individuals. Because according to Roy, he would have beat them all. That's Joe Frazier, everybody. Okay? In his prime, he'd have beat anybody. Roy Jones was 193 pounds when he fought Ruiz. That version of Roy Jones, too, that's when he fought Ruiz, he's 36, right? So 35, 36, same because he went and fought Antonio Tarver right after that. So with age, your body starts to fill out more, right? For a lot of people. So you telling me this, in his own words, in his prime. Roy Jones said when he fought Murky Sosa, he was going to be cautious at first and move a little because he never been hit by a fucking light heavyweight in 10-ounce gloves, right? Yo, you fought cautious with fucking light heavyweights and middleweights and all that. You saw all the weaknesses in John Ruiz and you knew you had them. And here's the thing about it, right? Nobody's saying Roy didn't have the fucking guts to go in there and fight Mike Tyson. He wanted to fight him. But at the same fucking time, right? How many of y'all actually believe he would have beat Mike Tyson? Now, Roy says, or prime Roy, it beats anybody. Anybody. Okay? So, Usyk, basically, he can beat all these big heavyweights, but he wouldn't have been able to beat little Roy for some reason. He wouldn't have been able to beat Roy. He'd have found a way to beat Usyk. Yeah, Roy, you, Shane Mosley, Oscar De La Hoya, all you motherfuckers that got to sit up and talk about coulda, woulda, shoulda, or what you would have done if that, you got these fantasy fights, this make-believe shit. We look at who you fought. We know who you got your ass kicked by. And I don't want to hear that shit about no fucking age, especially when it comes to you and Tarver or you and Glenn Johnson. Because Tarver's your age, and I think Glenn Johnson's either the same age as well, or maybe even older. So you lost to 2 motherfuckers that was your age. So people overlook that fact that you didn't go in there. And now here's the thing, right? If a motherfucker would have been 23 years old and beat Roy Jones, y'all would be like, yo, but he was young and fresh. But yet, Canelo punk ass was fucking a baby, right? Y'all never made that excuse for Devin Haney. Or nobody else. So it's like all of this shit, what version of Roy Jones is going to beat Oleksandr Usyk? Like right now, from Usyk start to finish, what version of Roy beats any version of Usyk? Are you shitting me? So I'm just saying, it's funny to me when I hear him say that, because it's like, Roy, if you really think that you could beat Usyk, you wouldn't have lost to Tarver. You the same fucking age, man. And like I said, Roy was fresh in that fight. Roy, you didn't see, he's exhausted, he can't throw punches like in the first fight. No, in the Glenn Johnson fight, his stamina was back. He just basically was scared to get hit. And he couldn't take a fucking punch. And pretty much, if you think about it, once again, I gotta say it, and I'm gonna keep saying it till you motherfuckers learn it. Go do it. When you hear Jim Lampley say, Roy Jones is one of the smartest men I know, look at the amount of money he's made without having to take the risks. When you hear Jim Lampley, Emmanuel Stewart, Larry Merchant all say he's done the same things over and over. Roy Jones, he's not confident. You can see he doesn't want to get hit. He doesn't want to engage. He's scared to get hit. He can't take Tarver's punches. if Tarver hit him with one clean, he's probably gonna go out. He can't afford to get punched clean. Okay, so Larry Merchant follows Emmanuel Stewart like he told him. He said that's why he was so careful in his career, because he can't take a punch. Now, here's the deal: when you fight low-level fighters, right? When you fight guys like that's not skilled enough to exploit weaknesses, right? That the championship level fighters will. You can go in there and shake your head, stick your tongue out and all that, slap your shoes and all that, do your little chicken dance and all that, put your hands behind your back. But what happens when you get there with serious competition? And then all of a sudden you get beat. Oh, it's because of his age. Once again, Roy Jones has to go to saying in my prime, because he knows in his prime, he fought these dudes that couldn't test him. And that's where he looked his best. So, you can't handle a southpaw in Antonio Tarver, but you going to handle a southpaw in Usyk? You know what Usyk would do to Tarver? And the thing is, man, your ego is bigger than your ability. Yeah, you are an athletic guy. You were entertaining to watch, and I always wanted to see Roy win no matter who he fought. But I don't lie for motherfuckers, man. Usyk would have fucked you up, man. And you look at Usyk right now, what he's doing. Is you're not durable enough for Usyk, man. And the thing is, Usyk would have found you with his jab way easier than Tarver was. I don't give a fuck what age y'all would have been. I don't care. You could have been 26, okay? Usyk could be the same age. This version of Usyk would beat any version of Roy. Any version of Usyk beats any version of Roy. Stop playing, man. And understand, Usyk knows how to find you. Usyk knows how to, you can't bully Usyk. You can't do shit to Usyk. There's nothing, you can't make him back up. There's nothing you can do to Usyk. And then the fact that with Usyk's quickness too, and you can't counter over top of his jab, he's snapping that shit in your face, and you can't hurt him. And motherfucking Usyk is fast enough and definitely strong enough to get the shots to you to hurt you and keep you at bay and just walk your little ass down. And you don't have footwork to fight. You have footwork to get out the way. Lean and throw one little uppercut. This is shit he be doing and turning your head from punching, man. Nah. Too many flaws, man. And that's one of the reasons why back in the day, when people ask me about Roy versus Ray Leonard and all of my shit, look, if Roy was to beat Ray, it would more likely be because he's just a bigger guy. I said, but when you look at what Roy does, you could look at Ray and say, okay, maybe he beats Ray, right? Because of what he's doing to other people. But then when you look at the fact that Ray was tough and Ray did come to fight, man, and Ray was smart, it's easy to say one thing, but then, I don't know. And I started looking and said, okay, this was my assessment. I said, maybe he beats Ray. I don't know. I said, he's bigger than Ray. We've seen Ray get knocked down. Kevin Howard wasn't no championship level dude. He was, good fighter, but he wasn't no championship level dude. He dropped Ray. Ray got up, one punch, bow, dropped Ray. We've seen Ray get dropped several times with a one punch. Okay? Ray Leonard at one point had a coke addiction. He had a coke when he fought Marvin Hagler. He had a fucking cocaine addiction and drinking. He was drinking alcohol. He was fucked up, and they didn't want that fight to happen. There's a story about him right now. I already knew this shit about him, but there's a story right now. And his family, people close to him, didn't want him to fight Marvin Hagler because of his addiction to drugs. Both times he retired, it was out of fear, the detached retina situation, like all this kind of shit. He was doubting himself. So what I'm saying is, it's not about me trying to sit here and make people to be tougher than what they were or whatever, which is why I even showed you the video of Van Holyfield. Let you know, people are human. Stop putting these people in categories to make it seem like they was more than human, because they're not. They're not. So when I'm listening to this shit and I'm thinking, I said, okay, maybe he beats Ray. Maybe not. I'm not sure, man. But if he does, I say maybe because he's bigger than Ray. Maybe he wins. Maybe. I said, now, if they fight at 160 pounds, I think Roy could beat that version of Ray that beat Hagler, possibly. Because like I said, when you got to look at certain fights, it's just not like, oh, when you was this age, it was just every fight was the same. No, you were doing what you were doing, but you had certain fights where you stood out. Like when people say shit like the night Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, he had to beat anybody. Bullshit. Boy, he beat Mike Tyson. That's all. Stop, like, and I thought about that shit. That's why I said, you gotta stop repeating shit that people say. Because when you really think about it, you think, man, that's dumb. How the fuck do we know? Nah. He beat Mike Tyson's ass. That's all. That's all. Okay, but here's the thing, right? I looked at all of that. I said, maybe he beats Ray, maybe not. I don't know, man. I said, Hearns, I think he might catch Hearns or something that Hearns don't see coming and knock Hearns out. We seen Hearns, when Hearns get cracked, them legs go. I seen Iran Barkley knock him out. I mean, we done seen, but, maybe Hearns, because Hearns is going to give Roy problems because he keeps it long. The problem with Hearns is Hearns like to load up a lot, try to knock you out every shot, and he overcommits. And Roy might catch it with some shit, like I said, it's possible. I said I think he can outbox Duran. Stylistically, Duran, like fighters like Duran have problems with boxers. And I said I think he beats Duran. Marvin Hagler, I don't know. Because Marv could take a punch. Marv was smart. And Marv keeps coming. And I don't know. So my point, there's no clear win to me. But I think he can outbox Duran. And not to mention, especially at 160, because I saw when Duran beat Barkley. And I'm like, okay, I give Duran credit because he did what he did. But my point, even watching that, is like, stylistically, man, because he's so, he is who he is. And he was flat-footed at that, like, more he moved a little, and, he was able to, beat Barkley. But I think Roy could have beat Duran. All right, I think he could have beat Duran. But even when I say that, it's like, because, like I said, those styles of boxing and moving, like, fighters like Duran always had problems with slick boxers, man. Now, does that mean that he can catch Roy clean? That doesn't mean he can't catch him clean and knock him out? No. But I think Roy would have beat Duran. Okay. The other three is no clear win. I can't say, especially with Hagler. Because that style, see, people look, when you fight similar to somebody, they think like, oh, well, he beat him and he fought like him. So no, not necessarily. And also, I believe Hagler would have took Roy's punch far better than Roy would have took his. And Marv was different, man. Marv was different. And Roy didn't move as much as Ray did. You understand what I'm saying? He could have got clipped. So, bottom line, for the Roy Jones fans, they're like, oh, he did this, he did. How do you make that decision that he would have beat and did all this shit to Duran and all them, and to Hagler and all them? But you look at the guys that he fought, that wasn't nearly as good as them. And even though he put a show on and did all that, there's guys that made it to the final bell that, they were okay. So it's always easy to assume something because you're showing favor to the fighter that you like. But when I look at Roy Jones, man, I'm like, yo, I know what Roy was. I watched him his whole fucking career. Y'all ain't telling me shit about no fucking Roy Jones, man. But I'm as far as him beating Muhammad Ali, nah. Ali would have tore his ass up. You think you really picture Roy Jones beating Ali? Do you really picture him beating Larry Holmes, Riddick Bowe? You understand what I'm saying? Do you really picture him doing that? Now, let's look at Usyk. And listen, let's not get it twisted. The version of Holyfield that fought James Toney, Holyfield was washed anyway at that point. He was, you know what I'm saying? He was washed. But at the same time, now let's talk about prime Holyfield, prime Roy Jones. You think Roy Jones beats Holyfield? And this motherfucker can't beat Antonio Tarver? So think about it. And he's going to beat Usyk. So now when he want to go back to, in my prime, all you're doing is using your imagination. You're not proving shit, Roy. I'm giving you my opinion, just like you giving yours, but you give your opinion as if it's fact, and that like bottom line, you just ain't taking no for an answer. Great, you can have your imagination all you want. In fact, that's the best thing that you got going for you right now, because the truth of the matter is, as far as you beating a prime Mike Tyson and Holmes and Ali, you know, and basically that's what we're going to do. When you say prime for prime, that's what we're going to go with. Man, do you know how many fucking people would sit back and use common sense and go, damn, nah, bro, you tripping? There's a lot of people that would have tore your little ass up. But let you tell it, your own daddy wouldn't let you fight Buster according to you, right? Because too much body mass, too big. And what did you say? I don't care. Oh, I was going to fight him. I don't care. I don't fought him. Right. And that's why you didn't fight Lennox Lewis. That's why you didn't want to work out a fight with here's the thing, okay? When he sit here and talk about if he'd have waited for somebody to beat James Toney, all the time, always bring up James Toney. That's all you can talk about. And going up to heavyweight. Notice how he don't even talk about Hopkins? And then he fought a 39-year-old Mike McCallum, but you going to sit up here talking about Floyd waiting for everybody to get old. Why the fuck you fight Mike McCallum at 39? Well, that's because he my friend, and he needed some money. He asked for the fight. Yeah, I know. It's always an excuse. Always some excuse. But you know all the ins and outs of everybody else's career. I'm just giving y'all the real shit. Now, you say that. You would have beat Usyk. You would have beat anybody. All right. Okay. So when Floyd say he's TBE, and he's 50-0, it's a problem. You got 10 fucking losses. I told y'all, his ego. He don't like the fact that he got 10 losses. He don't like the fact that people see Floyd as being better than him. And he don't want you to think nobody's better than him. And that's why he made it known. If you listen to him, he'd have beat anybody in his prime. Yeah, you'd have beat Sonny Liston too. You'd have beat Floyd Patterson. You'd have just Joe Lowe. You'd have just beat everybody. If you really wanted to make a statement, man, and if you would have went up and beat Lennox Lewis, there'd be no question about what you say. You knew to stay the fuck away from Lennox Lewis, and you knew to stay the fuck away from Chris Bird. And what did you do? You went after bum-ass Ruiz. Let's tell the truth, man. Bum-ass John Ruiz. You ain't fuck with Lennox Lewis. And that was the best heavyweight in the division at the time. And if you would have went up, hey, if you can beat Tyson, right, you should beat Lewis too. Because at the time, nobody thought fucking Lewis would have beat Tyson. And when Tyson came back and fought Lewis, okay, cool. So you saw what happened. But you didn't go up and fight Lennox Lewis, man. Now, who in their right fucking mind think you would have beat Lennox Lewis? You watch all that hand speed that he got. He kept missing, trying to throw over top of Tarver's punches. You know, he was landing right to the body at times, and you know, throwing the right uppercut. It was missing the majority of the times. Repetitiveness, and this is what I'm saying. Roy don't have that ability to pop that jab in your face, work off that jab, be patient, jab, feint. You know, no, everything is. I'm gonna try to knock you out with the wild ass haymaker shots. You know, I'm gonna try. You know, the lead left hook, jump in. You know, leaping in, then throw the right hand behind it, and you know, all those things that he was doing, it was like it got shut down. Now he's getting tagged. See, that's why I tell you, when Ali became more flat-footed, Ali, we knew he could take a punch. Roy can't. Roy got a glass jaw, man. Roy can't take a punch. He can blame that shit on 25 pounds, and y'all can believe that bullshit all y'all want, but that 25 pounds ain't fucking... First of all, Roy Jones, let's get this clear. 175, right? Roy Jones came in at 193 pounds. So he ain't even coming 200 pounds. Okay? And remember, he was talking about, remember he was talking shit about what's his name? Ruiz talking about, he's like, when he feel that power, he gonna be like, that motherfucker ain't 100, he ain't 193. Remember that shit and all that? He was 193 pounds. So let's stop with all that. I lost 25 pounds of muscle. And let's stop this shit. I believe it affected him in the first fight. Yes, I do. That second, third fight, no. What happened after he got knocked out by Tarver, he lost his confidence and his ability to take a punch. He obviously still had the heart to get in there because he did it. But he came in there, and what he couldn't understand was, what he didn't realize, his ego and his mouth was bigger than his ability at this point. You watched him fold up. You watched him get knocked out with one punch. And it's like, okay, what people fail to understand, when you can move and turn and get away from shots when you're not getting really hit flush with the big shots, it's like, okay, cool. You're not getting hit flush. Now you're starting to get hit with flush shots. And it's like, one punch, you go down. What that have to do with 25 pounds? Later on, and no. Roy Jones basically couldn't take a punch. He had a weak-ass chin. It's not above Jake Paul to go in there and have a fake bullshit fight, just go through the motions and go the distance with a Roy Jones like he did with Mike Tyson. You know, to be 27 years old and go in there and fight a motherfucking 58-year-old that just had 8 blood transfusions, and that shit goes the final distance, and then you got people going, yo, he spared Mike. Okay, why? Why? Spare him for what? He put the gloves on, he's in, right? So why? All right. Roy Jones, if he got in there, he thought he want to test Jake Paul chin. Come on, man. Roy Jones, we already know his knees are gone. He could barely even fucking walk. Now, Roy Jones, I'm looking at his age. I'm looking at the things he say, and I didn't watch Roy Jones his whole career, so I know what Roy can do. And this is what I'm saying. He can tell y'all that bullshit, and y'all can eat it all up, but I never compared Roy. I don't really compare fighters. I really just don't compare them. Let somebody bring the conversation up or have, or like I said, like just like on a regular, I don't really do that. And the thing is, I only look at the weight classes you've been in. So if somebody asks me, yo, if he would have fought, no, I think Lewis would have fucked him up. Lewis would have killed that little guy, man. Fuck was he going? What was Roy Jones going to do to Lennox Lewis? What? Like what? So he didn't go up and fight the big dog. He went up and fought the worst heavyweight in the division. Okay, now cool. But I watch him and I listen to him, and like I said, his ego eats him up. Just like when people talk this shit about, like when people are comparing Floyd and Ray Leonard, and I'm just like, yo, like when somebody made the comparison about Ray Leonard's hands, Floyd having brittle hands. Yo, Ray had brittle hands as well. The fuck? Did you not know that? He's not icing down, like you said. And I'll post that shit for y'all if I still got it. He said, plain and simple, the pain to his hands was worse than the punches to the face. So he had brittle hands too, but yet a point was given to Ray Leonard as a plus for him. No, it's no plus. It's just information you're not aware of. So when I look at that, right, and I think, well, you're trying to give a guy advantages. Bro, Floyd Mayweather never had no cocaine addiction. He didn't have alcohol drink. You know, he wasn't an alcoholic. Ray had all that going on. Discipline, bro. Discipline. This motherfucker got dropped by Kevin Howard. Kevin Howard. So you understand? Y'all don't really look at the things that actually happen. Y'all just use your imagination and picture them doing something to somebody. Like when I show y'all Ray Leonard throwing all them damn flurries and then the crowd is screaming and what the fuck was Ray hitting? Nothing. But the motherfucking outside that dude gloves. It looked good on the camera and he's throwing them punches and all. But that's how you, come on, bro. He ain't land nothing. But y'all, yo, the hands, yeah, I know what Ray could do as well. You're not talking to me like, yo, stop talking to me like you talking to these other motherfuckers. Like they say shit just talking. I know who these motherfuckers are. I grew up watching these motherfuckers. Watch every fight they fucking had. So I know who these motherfuckers are. This is not what I'm like. Bottom line, y'all, if it comes down, look, if I can sit here and tell my son, who I love more than anything in this world, all my sons, if I can tell my son, listen, that kid that you're guarding tonight, right? He has really good handle, and he's quick. When you guard him, he's faster than you are. He gets up higher. Don't make it a one-on-one. Don't make it about a you versus him. It's a team effort. One-on-one, he fades away. He gets the type of shot where if he's getting around you, right, and he's getting his points, the rest of the team is not really involved so much because he's a show-off. But don't make it about an ego thing. Don't back down from him. But understand, he has advantages over you. If I can tell my son that, do you think I give a fuck about how you feel because I'm telling the truth about a fighter that you like? So if I sit and tell my son, that nigga can't fuck with you, son. Man, you got this. No. I'm not telling him to be afraid. I'm telling him what this guy's strengths, but my son see it. When you got too much ego, that's the problem. You won't see it. To after the aftermath. And egotistical motherfuckers, especially now, they won't accept it. Till they become old ass men and go, damn, I didn't understand it back then, but I do now. I get it now. So yeah, I'm being real with him. And you know what happened? They won that game. And they won it by 10 points. They was doubling up like they were supposed to. And basically, like I told my son, don't make it about you versus him. That's what they're going to depend on. Because one-on-one, it's going to be difficult for you to stop him. You know, so y'all got to double up on him. And he's egotistical. He's going to take shots, 4 shots, instead of passing it to his team like he's supposed to. Even when his coach goes over there and tell him, hey, man, or whatever, trust me, he's going to be the one trying to score all the points. And they won that game. You understand what I'm saying? And my sons, I see what you're saying, Pop. So it don't matter if he outscores you or no, do your point. Because if you got to contribute more on rebounding, blocking shots, but bottom line, don't make it about you versus him. And that's, you understand what I'm saying? They won that game by 10 points. I'm going to fucking sit up here and make excuses up for, well, yeah, man, it's 25 pounds of muscle. Stop that shit, man. Y'all talk about Roy came in 200. No, he didn't come in 200. He came in 193. Well, let's just be real. Let's be real. Regardless to all that shit, no version of Roy Jones beats Usyk. No version of Roy Jones beats no version of Usyk. Different fight. It's a different fight. And at no point in time, even like when Roy fought against Ruiz, he boxed, moved, stood back behind the ref. Ruiz, big dumbass, standing up there trying to outbox his little motherfucker who's faster than him and get your shots off quicker. And all that reach he had. But bottom line, like I said, Ruiz was a bum. And like Larry Merchant said, this is why Roy Jones picked him. See, but y'all get this impression that when Roy Jones was fighting, all the commentators was just sitting there mesmerized and they had nothing but great things to say. No, that's not how it went. Every fighter has faced their criticism. But once again, when you are not an undefeated fighter and you're claiming to be the greatest of all times, listen, you saying you would have beat anybody in your prime, you're claiming greatest of all times. Because you're saying my prime was way better than everybody else's. So you're claiming to be, and I told you one interview, and this dude was talking to him about Crawford and Canelo. He's like, I'm telling you, and I'm the GOAT. He wants that title. I told you, it ain't about no fucking Ali. It's about him. So now, all of a sudden, Floyd is not this, Floyd is not that. He wanted to fight a little guy. Miguel Cotto was only a great Puerto Rican champ. Let me ask you something. Is it a fucking Puerto Rican league that we don't know about? That Miguel Cotto was some great Puerto Rican league fighter? Because I'm just saying, here's a guy who had his hands on WBA, WC, BC, whatever belts he had out of those 4 organizations, and a 4-time 4-weight division champion. You see, when you hear this most like with British fighters, and they'll say, this guy is a good British level fighter, but not world-class level yet. That's what Roy Jones is saying about Miguel Cotto. So when he say he's only a great Puerto Rican fighter, are you saying he's only great to the Puerto Rican fans or to the Puerto Rican people? Or what? I mean, because it makes no sense to me. Like, it's like saying Felix Savon was a great Olympic fighter because Felix Savon never turned pro. So we can only assume how good he would have been in the pros. We don't know that for sure. You understand? That makes more sense. So yeah, unless there's some Puerto Rican league that Miguel Cotto was just monstering, just killing shit in, what the fuck do you mean when he says that? He's only a great Puerto Rican fighter. What? Like, what the fuck does that even mean? That'd be like, imagine somebody saying Roy Jones is only a great African American fighter. What the fuck does that mean? You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, damn, this dude is just trying to just take credit from like just anybody. You know what I'm saying? That Floyd beat or whatever. Like he don't want to give nobody credit. So now all of a sudden, Floyd ain't shit. Floyd ain't no all-time great. Miguel Cotto's not an all-time great. And now all of a sudden he'd beat Usyk, and in his prime he'd beat everybody. I'm gonna tell you something right now. You Roy fans are gonna, sit there and suck his dick no matter what he says. But Roy keep running his mouth. He gonna put himself in a position where a lot of people gonna get sick of this motherfucker. And it's really not helping him, man. What is he gaining by doing this? I mean, he can give his opinion, but that's my thing. Everything with him is always whatever he says is facts, because he said it. No. Nah. And you want to know what's also crazy? Notice how he never bring up Antonio Tarver as far as people he beat. He beat the first fight. But notice he never bring up Tarver's name. Why? Why don't he bring up Mike McCallum's name? Every time he brag about anything is always, I beat James Toney and the heavyweight. How many people ever seen the heavyweight? Right? That's all he talks about. You think beating James Toney and Bernard, and he don't even bring up Bernard Hopkins, but he don't even bring up them. And in fact, he didn't see Bernard Hopkins as we gonna have our Ali. You know how Ali had Frazier, Ali had Norton like that. Yeah, he didn't see him like that because he bitched about 60-40, right? So okay then. He didn't see that shit like that. So it's like fighters that you tried to shit on at one point, you can't bring them motherfuckers up now and try to brag about them, because it's like, well, why didn't you make this fight happen? Like he said with Pacquiao, just go 50-50. Shit, Anthony Joshua told Fury, fuck it, 50-50, so there's no excuse for the fight to not happen. But the fight still didn't happen anyway. Roy was like 60-40 or he ain't fighting me. Right? And remember what that motherfucker told Roy Jones. He said, well, Bernard Hopkins probably wouldn't think that when he talked about he ain't beat nobody, all he beat was Felix Trinidad. Remember, and then who he fight after? He fought Trinidad after Bernard Hopkins, right? And he says the only person that Bernard Hopkins beat was Trinidad. Well, here's the thing, and this is what I'm saying about even like Bernard Hopkins. The biggest win of Bernard Hopkins' career was against a much smaller guy, Oscar De La Hoya. Let's look at who Bernard Hopkins won. See, this is what people don't understand. Even when you look at who Bernard Hopkins beat, he beat De La Hoya, remember? When he hit him in the body and he folded him. What's wrong, Oscar? It was my liver. Yeah, he beat him. He lost twice to Jermaine Taylor. He beat a Winky Wright. You know what I'm saying? Beat Felix Trinidad, another small guy. See, this is the shit that people don't understand. Hopkins' biggest wins came over smaller guys that went up to fight him. Not the naturally, Now, he beat Tarver. And I told you guys, man, Tarver wasn't no great motherfucking fighter, man. He just beat Roy Jones' ass. You understand what I'm saying? Tarver had some skill. Tarver was good, but Tarver wasn't great. He was good. He used what he had in his size, and he beat Roy Jones. Same age as Roy Jones, bigger than Roy Jones, and he fought the way he was supposed to. He beat Roy Jones. But Tarver, look at what he did. He beat Roy Jones, then lost his fucking belt to Glenn Johnson, then got the belt back, then lost to fucking Hopkins. So when you look at Hopkins, yeah, he beat Tarver, but outside of Roy Jones, what the fuck did Tarver do? You understand what I'm saying? And not only that, if you look at Hopkins' career, it was the longevity and he was finding ways to win. But let's look at Hopkins, his best wins. These were fucking welterweights that came up to fight him. You understand what I'm saying? So, Kelly Pavlik's of the world, all these guys, man, that like these wasn't like Yo, look, Jermaine Taylor wasn't a great fighter. He wasn't a great fighter. Kelly Patrick wasn't a great fighter. You understand what I'm saying? So my point is, why the fuck are we talking about Hopkins and talking about motherfucking James Toney like these motherfuckers were unbeatable? Y'all make it sound like they were undefeated and Roy came in and just dethroned them and really Hopkins was on a fucking come up and had a late start in fucking boxing when he fought Roy Jones the first time. Beat Roy Jones' ass in the rematch. You understand what I'm saying? But like, bottom line is like these guys didn't fight and beat great fighters, with the exception of, like I said, him beating smaller guys that came up in Oscar De La Hoya and Felix Trinidad. So when you break this shit down, this is what I'm saying. You know, Winky Wright was a good fighter too. But yeah, what I'm saying, Hopkins, I give him his credit, but Hopkins had problems with speed, movement, and angles. Simple. James Toney was lazy. He was flat-footed, all upper body movement, and even, you know, when he was younger, when he was more active and threw more. Bottom line, man, like James Toney, there's a lot of people that he didn't fight either, because the same way he fought motherfucking Mike McCallum, but the same thing. Where was the Nigel Benz? Where was all, like, you understand what I'm saying? Where's the Chris Eubank? Where like, none of this shit. So even when people assume who would have won, that's not how we build a career, man. And that's all Roy Jones is telling you guys right now. In my prime, I would have blah, blah. Yeah, opinion. I say Usyk would have kicked his ass. What do y'all think? Does Roy Jones beat Oleksandr Usyk? Talk to me in the comment section, y'all. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.